All right, what's going on, y'all? Y'all already know who I am. Y'all know why we're here. Not too much introduction. I will just say, please excuse me if you hear me doing any sniffling or like clearing my throat. I don't know what it was, but at some point today, something got in my system. I don't want to even say what it is or might be because I don't want to jinx myself, but I got a bottle of water right here, so I might be like kind of sniffling a little bit. So just excuse that. Either way, we're gonna get through this and have a good session. So let me share my screen. Also, last time I did this, for some reason, my audio just kind of cut off randomly. So if at any point the audio cuts off and y'all can no longer hear me, please just let me know. You can let me know in the chat. I got the chat pulled up here on a separate screen. So first off, can y'all hear me right now? Can y'all let me know in the chat if you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's get to it. All right, y'all. So I know that we're calling this the Capital Flow walkthrough, and it is going to be a walkthrough, but I really want to make it more of a Q&A because I've got maybe 3 or 4 videos by now on my YouTube where I spend, between 30 minutes to an hour just giving a walkthrough of the entire platform. So I am going to still do a walkthrough, but it's going to be a little bit quicker, right? It's not going to be as in-depth because like I said, I've got multiple in-depth walkthrough videos and I really want to make sure we have plenty of time for y'all to answer questions. So the walkthrough part is not going to take too long. So, while I'm doing this, please make sure you guys come up with some good questions, write them down, anything you want to know, because that's really going to be one of the main focuses of today's session is making sure you guys get all of your questions answered completely. So we'll get into the walkthrough, and I am going to go over everything. Like I said, some of the stuff I've gone over before in other videos. There are a couple of new features on here that I will talk about more in depth because I haven't spoke about them at all. Just a couple things. But other than that, the system still kind of works exactly the same as it did within that last video. There were a couple of tweaks to make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So it looks a little bit cleaner, right? But overall, it's the same function. So we'll get into it. We'll start at the top and then we'll just work our way down and then we'll get into a couple of these new features that I was talking about. So without further ado, we'll get into the walkthrough. So here at the top, you can see right in big boxes, right? Left, middle, and right. We have overall flow on the left, call premium in the middle, put premium on the right, right? So that tells you how much money has gone into calls for that day, how much money has gone into puts for that day, and then it gives you the overall flow. So if more money is gone into calls, then the overall flow is bullish. If more money is gone into puts, the overall flow is bearish, right? So this is an extremely useful feature, but you have to know how to use it. So what I mean by that is right now you can see that the overall flow is bullish, more money went into calls. But if you look at the market for the day, we actually finished red. We didn't just finish red, we finished super red. We sold off really hard, but we sold off really hard at the end of the day. We started the day on a nice uptrend. So people were buying calls. The market was moving up at the open and the put premium was lower. But as the day continued on, that put premium continued to catch up. It didn't quite catch up to the call premium before it closed. So we did still end the day with bullish overall flow. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So if you come in the market right at the open, you'll be able to see exactly what the overall flow is from that moment, right? So if it's 9:30, 9:45, 10 a.m., the overall flow 9 times out of 10 is going to match the direction of the market. Say if you come in the market at 2:30, you might see that the overall flow is bullish, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the market is going to move up. It means maybe the market moved up earlier in that morning already, and now puts are starting to come in, but now, because there were so many calls that open, the put premium is still lagging, even though that's the direction that we're going in. So this is something that's really useful. It's definitely really useful if you're watching from open. If you're not watching from open, just make sure that you understand that it's not necessarily a leading indicator just by getting a snapshot. You have to actually watch it in real time if you want to see what direction the overall market is going in. And that's always the first thing that I look at, because for me, I'm always trading right at open, right at 9:30, right? So that's going to kind of give me a sense of direction that I want to play for the day, or for at least that morning session. So the overall flow is definitely real useful. And then you can get into a little bit more detail, because we see right below that overall flow bullish button, all the way on the left, you see we have top contracts by premium, and it gives you a drop down. So the top contracts by premium, that just tells you exactly what some of these top buy contracts are. So you can see exactly where some of that money from the overall flow is going, right? So the top bot contract today on the market, it looks like you can see where these Meta $140 calls expiring 6/16. There were $62 million total spent on that. That doesn't mean there was one $162 million order. It means total amount out of all the orders across the entire market, $62 million ended up going into these Meta calls, right? And then it goes in order. It goes just literally from top to bottom. It depends on a given day. You might see 10 on here. Some days you might see more. You might see 15. You might see 20. It's going to vary from day to day, right? But we have some Meta calls. You see we got QQQ puts, EWZ puts, Amazon calls, Tesla calls, etc. So the thing to understand about these top contracts by premium, usually on most days, you're going to see pretty much the same names on here, right? There's always going to be some SPY, some QQQ. Those get traded often by big money traders, large amounts of money. And then you're going to see your large cap names. Like Tesla is usually going to be on here. You can expect to see Amazon, Meta, Apple, right? Things like that. The biggest names on the market are usually going to be on here. Those have the highest volume, right? So those are the names that I like to trade. Me specifically, I like SPY and QQQ. Just be aware of the expirations that you're looking at on these top contracts, right? Because you might see that, like say Meta, for example, you might see that these 6/16 contracts are the top bot on the market. So now you want to try to day trade some Meta calls. It could work out, but just be aware of the expiration, right? You see that, yes, there were $62 million spent, but they have months of time. They have plenty of time on the expiration. So even if Meta does not move up today, those contracts could still make money because they might hold them for another month, another 2 months, right? So just kind of keep that in mind with the style of trading. Don't just see, oh, calls. So now I want to get in. Keep a look at the expiration. Also, one thing I will say, Tesla. Tesla's going to be on here pretty much every single day. It's very rare that you're not going to see Tesla on here, because big money trades Tesla like you wouldn't believe. If you've ever watched Capital Flow, you know that the amounts that go into Tesla on any given day are ridiculous. And to be honest, a lot of this Tesla money, it's speculation, it's gambling. It can be kind of difficult to truly get a read on what Tesla is going to do if you're just watching the overall flow. And I know that Tesla has always been a pretty popular ticker. So just be kind of aware that it can be a little bit trickier to play Tesla, because usually you're going to see Tesla flow a lot coming in both directions. Now, if you do see it as one-sided, either a lot of calls or a lot of puts, then you can kind of get an idea. But on most days, there's going to be a lot of Tesla flow, and it's going to be going both ways. So it can just be kind of tricky to get a sense of direction there. You really got to make sure you're watching the chart for that one. So we'll close that. So right below the top contracts by premium button, you see we have filter by symbol. And this is when you can get specific, right? So you can type in however many tickers you want to watch, right? Say we'll look at, we're not going to do the indices. Let's say we want to see what Apple, Roku, and Square did for the day. As you type those tickers in, now you can come down here, and this is where you see the real-time flow come in, the real-time orders come in, right? So we're looking at Apple, Roku, and Square. So right here, all the way on the left column, this is the time. So it's going to show you the time that the order came through. Next to that is the symbol. So you'll see the name, the ticker symbol of the stock that you're watching. You'll see contract, right? This is what was bought. 82.5 calls, expire 5/19/2023. The premium is how much money went into that specific contract. The price is what the price of those contracts were when they were purchased. Size is how many contracts were bought. So just for the sake of this video, we're gonna make this simple. We're actually only gonna look at one. So we just have Apple contracts pulled up, right? So this is showing you all the Apple contracts that were bought today. And it shows the premium spent is equal than or greater than $2,500. So anytime somebody spends $2,500 or more on an Apple contract, you're gonna see it here. It's gonna come in real time, gives you the time, gives you the expiration date, how much money they put in, what those contracts cost, and exactly how many contracts that they bought. So this is really one of the main features that people like, right? Because it allows you to kind of tune out the extra noise. See, maybe you're not watching these top bot contracts like Tesla, QQQ, whatever. Say you only care about Apple, you only want to know what Apple's doing. You come in here, filter by symbol, you can type in Apple, you can set your minimum premium to whatever you want. And then you can just scroll through all the orders. I have this set to 15 trades per page. I'm going to open it to 50 just so we can scroll a little bit more. And you can see exactly in real time what Apple orders are coming in. Now, this might be a little bit overwhelming, so I'm going to tell you how you can tweak the settings and best take advantage of seeing that real-time flow come in, right? So the first thing that you need to understand, obviously, if we're only looking at $2,500 and up, there's going to be a lot of orders that come through, especially on something like Apple. Apple is a multi-trillion-dollar stock. There's a lot of volume, a lot of money coming in, lots of trades. So when you're trading something that's big on the market, you want to cut out those smaller orders because somebody spending $4,000, $20,000 on Apple, that might be a lot of money, sure. But when you know that there's people that are spending $1 million, $2 million, $10 million just on the one single trade, that $20,000 order is very small in the grand scheme of things. So on something like Apple, you actually want to up the minimum premium filter. Now, usually what I say is when you're trading a large cap stock, you don't want to go under 25K at the minimum. You want to be at least 25K. And some people like to do it differently, right? Some people like to only focus on $1 million orders. Some people want to start at 50K, 100K. I say, you can use anything 25K and up. If you're looking at 25K, but you still see that a lot of orders are right there at 25K, the flow looks mixed, then that's when I would say go ahead and up their premium to 50K, 100K, 500K, etc. Sorry about that, y'all. We're gonna meet some folks. Meet some folks real quick. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. So again, in case I didn't mention it, that minimum premium button is literally just this blue button that exists in that same box where you see filter by symbol. So you click that blue button with the 3 lines and you can choose a minimum premium, right? So say if we set it at $50,000, now instead of seeing all those small Apple orders, we're gonna see anytime somebody spends $50,000 or more on an Apple contract. So one of the most important things that I'm looking at when I'm looking at these orders is going to be this premium column right here, because I want to see exactly how much money people are spending. And I want to look for those big money orders. Again, we want to focus on the big orders because the whole purpose of capital flow and trading with flow is that you're following the big money, the big dogs, right? Someone spending just a couple $1,000s, that's not the person you want to follow. You want to see people that are spending 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, right? Those are the people that know something. Those are the orders that you want to follow. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if y'all are keeping up. All right, thumbs up. Cool. So really, the way I'm explaining this to you is really one of the great ways to use this because you get kind of a top-down analysis, right? So you start by looking at the overall flow and see where the money is going overall. Is it going into calls? Is it going into puts? How much? Is it twice as much going into calls? Is it twice as much going into puts? Is it close? Are they flipping back and forth? So you can expect it to be choppy, right? The overall flow just gives you a general idea of how you can approach the market. And then you get more specific. You say, okay, there's more money going into calls. Which calls exactly are being bought? Boom, you come here. Top bot contracts by premium. Okay, you can see that meta calls are being bought the most. Okay, so let's see exactly what that meta flow looks like. You come in the filter by symbol, you look at Meta, boom. You see all the Meta contracts that were bought for the day. And some tickers, depending on how much money they have going into them, they'll actually give you 3 or 4 of the top bot contracts for that day. So when you search up Meta, you can exactly see, we already know that the 146.16 call had the most at 62 million. Next to that, we have Meta 175 calls, 616, 7.6 million. And then we got these 185 calls, 6.8 million. So it's really a top-down analysis, right? And then if you want to hunt for a meta trade, you can watch the flow in real time. And because you know that it's meta, you know that it's big, to say maybe you want to look $1 million. Anytime somebody spends $1 million or more on meta, you want to see it in real time because you want to find a meta trade. You tap this blue button next to the word meta, set your filter to $1 million, and now you can watch it in real time. Definitely got kind of choppy here at the end of the day, which I'm not surprised. But now you can see all of these orders. If you look at this premium column right here, they're all $1 million or more. And you can see people were definitely spending crazy money on Meta. These are all just from today. We got a bunch of 7-figure orders. You got some 8-figure orders, 61 M's. You even got some 9-figure orders. So there's a lot of money that goes into these options, as y'all can see. And again, one of the most important things that I can say to y'all is make sure that you are watching the expiration. If you are looking for a day trade, you want to see expirations, ideally that expire this or next week at the latest. If you are looking to watch flow to find a day trade, something you're going to be in and out of. You don't want to day trade something because there's a lot of flow that expires 6-7 months from now, right? It doesn't make sense. Now, if you want to swing trade, then yeah, definitely look for expirations that are farther out if you're swing trading. Now, speaking of expirations, that leads me to my next point. So directly across from where it says filter by symbol, you see we have a box and there's a few different buttons. You see all, unusual, weeklies, swings, leaps. This part I'm going to go over pretty quickly. So this just tells you expirations, right? So when you have all, it's going to show you every single order, every expiration. Okay, yeah, someone said, can you say that again for day trading? My audio went out. Yeah, so what I was saying was you need to pay attention to the expiration that's coming up when you're looking to follow something with flow. So for example, if you're looking to find a day trade, if you're a day trader and you see that people are spending millions of dollars on meta calls that expire 6 months from now, that's a lot of money going into meta calls, but you don't want to hop in a weekly meta contract thinking it's going to hit that week because other people are buying 6 months out from now. All right, so you got to pay attention to the expiration. If you want to swing trade, then yeah, sure, you can do that. But as a day trader, you don't want to buy weeklies when the flow is buying 6 months out, a year out, 2 years out, things like that. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So speaking of expirations, this box where you see all, unusual, weekly, swings, and leaps, this is going to be where you can actually pick your expiration. So I talked about watching the expirations, right? So say, for example, I'm going to start with the weeklies. I know I'm going to skip that unusual for now, but we'll get back to it at the end. So with all, it just shows you every expiration. Doesn't matter if it's this week, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, you're going to see every expiration. Research weeklies is going to show you all the orders that were bought just this week, right? Anything that expires Friday or sooner, now you get to see it here. And actually, this will give you a real clear picture of what you can expect to happen for that day. Because now you see when we go to Meta Weeklies, it's only showing puts, millions of dollars in the puts since like 1244, 1245. It's all puts, millions, right? So that's actually pretty interesting because if you want to find a day trade, now that's what's going to give you a sense of direction today. And we already know what the market did today, but real quickly, just for the purposes of this recording, we're going to look at Meta stock for the day. Okay, I'll type this Meta. It's so hard to type on this thing sometimes. I'm sorry. Anyway. Oh, I'm not signed into my trading view. Why did it boot me out?
Recording in progress.
I don't know why it booted me out of my trading view. I'm not about to sign in right now. Y'all know what Meta did today. Y'all can look at the market. Meta dropped. I'll tell you the percent. I don't know why I'm not logged into my trading view. I was just logged in. Anyway, yeah, Meta dropped about 2.6% today. So Meta definitely had a red day. And like every other thing on the market, it ran up this morning. The drop didn't start until the afternoon. So you can see for the morning, there were pretty much a lot of calls, right? But then later, they're loading up puts. Meta drops. So looking at the weekly expirations will give you an idea of what you can expect for that day, right? So those are for the day traders. Looking at the swings expirations, now you're going to see expirations that expire from over a week out within the next 6 months. So if you're a swing trader, you like to hold things for a week, 2 weeks, 1 month, this is going to be the filter for you, right? This one is kind of mixed. I'm not surprised. The market has been kind of chopping overall. It hasn't been great for swings. I'm not surprised to see a bunch of mixed flow. But again, if you are a swing trader, you're going to want to be using that swings button, because just like with day traders don't want to watch long-term expirations, if you're a swing trader, you don't care about what's being bought this week because you want to hold for 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, whatever. And then we have leaps. So leaps are contracts that expire 6 months and beyond. So these are for people that like to hold options for 6, 8, 10, 12 months, which is a really great strategy. It's not something that I personally do myself because I am able to actively trade every day. I just prefer to day trade, and with a little bit of swing trading. I haven't done leaps much, but we definitely do still have some leaps in the community. A lot of people really like this leaps feature. So for any of y'all that like to hold options for months at a time, maybe even years at a time, definitely check out that leaps button. And then finally, we have the unusual button. So we actually just put this in. So you can now, because people were continuing about this. So keep this in mind. If you don't know what these unusual mean, right? So say right here, where you see meta, you see right below it, it says unusual, right? You get unusual, you get bearish, you get bullish, and then you're going to get large. I'm trying to find, you have large, you have block, and you have one more. I got to find it. There's large, block, and then sweep. I want to find a sweep order to show you. I'll find one somewhere else. But anyway, these are self-explanatory, which we just put on here. So you can literally just tap it or hover over it, right? And it's going to give you the definition of what large means. So when you see a large order, it's just a trade that means there was more than 100,000 spent. You see a block order, you can hover over it or tap on it, depending on if you're on mobile, iPad, whatever. These are privately negotiated orders done outside of the regular exchanges. So what that means is block orders, you can typically expect those to be institutional orders exclusively, right? Because they're done outside of regular exchanges. So those are typically done by, your hedge funds, your institutions, or just your individuals that have access to a lot of capital. So, they're not trading on something like Robinhood, Webull, they have privately negotiated orders that are done outside of those exchanges. So those are typically people that have access to inside information, people that know something. So block orders are useful. I want to find a sweep order. I gotta see. Let's see. If I don't find one, I'll just tell you. But I want to be able to find one. Let's see if I can see what it looks like on here. Might just not have been a lot of sweeps that came through there. I see large. I definitely see blocks. Okay, so the third one that you'll see sometimes is going to be sweep. I can't find one here, just looking here, but I'm not going to do too much hunting. But a sweep order just means that a sweep, it was one large order that was broken up into a bunch of smaller orders so that they can get filled quicker. So to put it simply, when you see a sweep order, that just means there was a sense of urgency to get in that trade. They wanted to get in as soon as possible. They didn't want to wait. They didn't care what the market was doing. They didn't want to wait for it to come up, come down a little bit more. They just wanted to get in right now. So sweep orders are actually going to be my favorite, because usually when you see a sweep and it represents a sense of urgency, that means that there's going to be a quick move in the market, right? If someone wants to get in fast right now, you can usually expect the move to play out, or at least start to play out within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So for those of y'all that like to scalp, that like catching those quick moves, which is myself, you're definitely going to like those sweep orders. So be on the lookout for that. And that's pretty much it for the, at least the old features, right? I'm going to talk about a couple of the new ones. That's pretty much been the exact functionality of the platform since day one. For those of y'all that are already watching in my other videos, you already know not too much has changed, just a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. But overall, those are the main features, and we did add a couple more side things. So before I get into that, y'all give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you have any questions on what I talked about already. Let me see. So would it be prudent to ensure your 3 to 5 stocks will follow on capital flow? When you say, yeah, so I think I understand your question. Let me know if I answer this correctly. So the 3 to 5 stocks that you're watching, like you have a watch list. Capital Flow is going to show you any 3 to 5 stocks. So there's not going to be any stock that's on the public exchange that you're not going to be able to watch on Capital Flow. So when you said your 3 to 5 stocks, I assume you talk about your specific watch list. Is there something that you try to look at that you're not seeing on Capital Flow? Okay, that was a general question. Yeah, so I mean, anything that you want to watch, if it's on the market, it's going to be here on Capital Flow. Depending on the name, there might not be any actual flow coming in. And that's something that I'll actually talk about. That was a good question. You brought up a good point. So some stocks, because we only looked at big ones, we looked at like Apple, Apple, Meta, right? So those are big ones. Those are names that are always going to have money coming into them every single day. But there's some small cap stocks or penny stocks, OTCs. Those things might not be on Capital Flow just because literally nobody's trading them, and that's just it. On any given day, they might have some flow, sure, but some things that are just small, they have a small market cap. They're not too big. They just might not have a lot of money going into them. Look for an example. Something like, let's look at, off the top of my head, Wish. So Wish is a small stock. It's listed at about $1, like under $1, I think. So just by looking right here, just typing it in, you can already see that there were no orders for today. Actually, I have my minimum. So I have my minimum premium spent at 10,000. Now this is an example of where you want to start with 2.5K. See, we just got some orders. So on something that's small, does not have a lot of orders, does not have a lot of flow, then you want to set the minimum premium a little lower. You want to start at 2,500 because there's not going to be millions and millions of dollars coming into these small names. So for something like Wish, 216, which is today, starts right here. So from here and up, these are all same day orders. The biggest one was under 10,000. So that's why we didn't see any orders that actually were spent with $10,000 or more on something like Wish. And there's not that many of them either, which is okay. So, some of the smaller names, you might look, something like Wish, it might not have any flow for the day, right? Just because it's a small name, not a lot of money, which is okay. So that's something to keep in mind too. And what I will tell you about these small names, if you do catch something like Wish, if you watch these, it's not going to be often. It's going to be super rare that this happens, but I've seen it happen. I've seen people do it and make crazy amounts of money. Say you see something like Wish, normally there's only a few $1,000s going into it. So say one day you look at Wish and you see there's $100,000 order, 200,000, $1 million order on something that normally only has a few $1,000s, the stock is going to go crazy. Every single time I've seen a small cap or something small like Wish, and on any given day, random day, there's just hundreds, thousands, millions of dollars, that stock goes crazy every single time. It's kind of hard to catch those because you have to spend days watching these, and it's pretty rare. I'm going to be honest with y'all. It's not something that I would recommend doing every single day, but if you do like to watch small names, whatever that small name may be, and you see that there's a lot more money coming in than usual, you're going to make a lot of money. So that's going to be something you may or may not want to look out for, depending on, how you want to play it. But so with all that being said, I'm going to get into a couple of these newer features, right? So if you look all the way on the top right, in the very top right corner, we have the profile icon, right? So next to the profile icon, we have 3 buttons. We have the bell, we have what looks like a chart, and we have the calendar. So I'm going to break these down too. So the bell, these are the trade alerts. So the trade alerts, these are extremely, extremely useful, guys. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this because we actually just added this in here where there's a button that says, if you want to learn more about trade alerts, you literally just click this, It's going to take you directly to YouTube because I made a YouTube.
Why are you not investing in tax liens? No, seriously.
Apparently, I'm
Why are you
signed
not
into the broke version of
investing
YouTube.
into one of the
I got
most
my ads going.
What's going on, y'all? Is the all.
But anyway, yeah, I literally just spent 5 minutes and 40 seconds talking about exactly what the trade alerts are in this YouTube video. Broke it down completely from top to bottom. And it's only 5 minutes long. So I definitely encourage y'all to check that out. I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about it on this call, but I will say that to sum it up, trade alerts are what's called repeat flow. So anytime that there are multiple orders going into the same contract, back to back to back, repeat flow, rapid flow, it's gonna give you an alert here. You'll get the contract, you'll get the ticker, you'll get the strike price, expiration, and the time that it came through. These are super useful for finding trades. Please just watch that video. It's on my YouTube. My YouTube channel is at The Almighty JT. 5-minute video. It will make you a lot of money. I guarantee you. All right, next, click this chart button. These are just charts. You can get some ETF and futures charts, right? Some snapshots. So you got your SPY, QQQ, IWM, etc. You can cycle through different time frames. You got the 1 day, 1 month, 3 month, year, 5 year, all time. And you can get your futures charts too, right? Your ES, your NQ, etc. So for my futures traders, someone asked me, do I trade futures? Me personally, I don't trade futures. This is not something it's something I kind of briefly dabble with, but as of right now, no, I'm not actively trading futures. And now this is super important. I want y'all to pay attention. So next to that chart button, you have the button that looks like a calendar. This is the economic calendar. And this is super important to watch because economic events affect how traders trade. And you're going to see it in the flow. So say there's an event. Jerome Powell starts speaking at 2 o'clock. You might not know that, right? So you definitely want to check this calendar and see, do we have a Fed speaker? Do we have important data dropping? Do we have like inflation data dropping, right? Because, so say if we have inflation data dropping, a lot of times what happens right before the inflation data drops is people start doing what's called hedging. So hedging just means you're buying puts just in case the market moves down to protect your shares. Because you got to remember, a lot of these people that are trading options with large amounts of money, yes, they're trying to make money with the options, but a lot of time they have millions of dollars worth of shares too. So say if the market is expected to move down, or that the market may move down and you're afraid that your actual long-term shares are going to lose value, you would buy puts just to offset the value of that loss. And you buy puts in times where there's going to be uncertainty in the market, when Jerome Powell is speaking, when there's certain data dropping. So you can check the economic calendar and you can see if there's an event, right? You might see a lot of puts coming in. It doesn't necessarily mean that these people think the market is going to move down. They're just basically playing it cautious, right? Hedging their bet, hedging. So keep that in mind, right? Look at the economic calendar, especially like this week, there was a whole lot of economic data. Some weeks are light, some weeks are heavy. It all depends, but definitely make sure you're checking out that calendar. It's going to be really useful to determine whether or not these trades are directional or just hedges. So that's it for the entire capital flow tutorial. So at this point, I want to actually go ahead and get into some questions. So I'm going to cut the stream off and we can get into the chat. Okay, so y'all let me know either in the chat or you can unmute yourself one at a time and we can answer some questions. Hope y'all got some questions because again, that was one of my main purposes of doing this. Yes, we want to do a walkthrough, but I also want to make sure we get to answer everybody's questions completely and totally. So y'all can go ahead. The floor is yours. There are no dumb questions. I know that this might be new for y'all. Some of y'all may have never used Flow before, so you might think it's a dumb question. I promise you there's no dumb question. There's no question that hasn't been asked before. Everybody's been a beginner at some point, including myself. There were times when I didn't even know what I was looking at when I looked at Flow, and I had to ask those beginner questions. So do not hesitate to ask anything at all, please.
I got a question, JT.
What's up?
So when you are filtering your the premium price, does that change depending on what stock you're looking at? Like when you was looking at Apple, that's a big company, so you want to change that to 50K or 100K, but does that change depending on the stock for you?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what I
Okay.
tell people, kind of a general rule of thumb you can follow, right? So it's going to depend on whether the stock is a small cap, a mid cap, or a large cap, or a mega cap, right? So if you're looking at a small cap, and a small cap is defined as a company that has a valuation somewhere between $250 million to $2 billion. Those are going to be small caps. A micro cap is going to be something under 250 million. So we'll start with micro cap. So say you're looking at a micro cap, that means the entire market cap is under $250 million. If you don't know what the market cap of a certain stock is, you can literally just Google it. Apple market cap, Google market cap is going to be the first result, right? So if it's got under $250 million, it's a micro cap. I'm starting at 2.5K. So like we looked at Wish, that's going to be considered a micro cap, valuation under 250 million. I'm starting with $2,500 and over. And then we can move up to the small cap. So a small cap, it has a valuation between 250 million to 2 billion. So for a small cap, I'm usually going to start around 10K. I'm going to start around 10K for a small cap and look there. For a mid cap, which is going to be 2 billion to 10 billion, I'm going to look at 25K and up. For a large cap, that's going to be 10 billion or more. I'm going to look at I usually stick with 25K and up. Those are the ones where a lot of times I'll go 50K and up. But really, I say no matter what the size is, me personally, I like to start with 25K at the minimum. And then I'll start to cut out those smaller orders if I'm seeing a lot of orders come through. Because some days are just light in the market. You see that the overall flow, you can see the call and put amounts, they might be a little bit lower than usual. So I see there's not as much money going into the market as usual. I'll just lower that minimum premium filter. And it's going to be easy to tell when the market's kind of lighter than usual. It might be like a holiday around this time, or, the market might be closing early or something like that. And, you got to remember these people that trade, they're just real people. So, around Christmas time, like Thanksgiving, especially, a lot of times there's just not as much money coming in. People are spending time with their families. So those are times where I'm going to kind of lower the premium, right? But on any regular given day, those are the amounts that I'm going to use depending on the market cap.
Got you. And then with the trade alerts, that's just an alert within Capital Flow, correct?
Correct. As of right now, it's just an alert within Capital Flow. Pretty soon, I can't give an exact date. I wish I could. It's just in the works. There's going to be an update where you can subscribe to email and text message alerts. So if you want to get an email alert when those come through, you can do that, or you can get a text straight to your phone. But as of right now, it's just within Capital Flow, and it's actually within the Discord too. Y'all may have seen we have that Capital Flow alerts channel in the Discord. Everybody on this call is a Discord member. So if you haven't seen it yet, it's under that bots channel, and it gives the exact same alerts that you see on the website at the exact same time.
Cool. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. So I see Chanel in the chat said, do we get a free trial as an Impact member and or discounted membership? You get both. So if you're already a member of the group, you'll definitely get that free trial. It's 1 week, so you can test it out for yourself, see how you like it. And you do get a discounted membership. You just need to make sure that when you create your account, there's going to be a button that says, are you already an Impact member? Click here. And then it's going to ask you to verify with your Discord, because anybody whose Discord account is in the Impact Investments Discord, you'll get a 15% discount. The normal price is $35 per month, but with that Impact member discount, it's 15% also, brings it to $29.75 per month. Yeah, no problem. And also, I'll mention this. The website is capitalflow.app. So it works great on desktop. If you have a laptop, you got an iPad, you can use mobile, your cell phone, whatever device you have. It's just website capitalflow.app. Works great on all of them. Now, I will say that it is a website for now. The app is being developed. The app is in the process, but I'm not prioritizing the creation of the app just because it's going to kind of take away from adding these features and adding value, right? Because to really, if I wanted to get the app done, within the next couple months, I could prioritize it and we get that done, but there's not going to be a real change of value. We just be moving the value from one place to another. My goal right now is not to spend the efforts transferring the value. My goal is to add more value. So I'm going to continue to put value into the web version. And then once the web version is where I want it to be, then we'll launch the app. So we're just really kind of pumping out these new features, got a lot of things in the works. And then, once we get to a certain point, the app will be ready. Yeah, so someone said, can I repeat where you find the discount? So when you go to capitalflow.app on the website, there's going to be a big yellow button. It says start 7-day free trial. You're going to have to put in, your email address, your name, create an account. And then once you create an account, it directs you to another page. And then from there, you have two options. It's going to say, start your free trial, or it's going to say right below that, it's going to say, if you are already a member of Impact Investments, click here for your 15% discount. You literally can't miss it. Just follow the steps, follow the sign-up steps. You're not going to miss it. Capital Flow does not show futures. It is a options flow service. So we don't have anything for Forex, futures, crypto. Those might be things that we expand on once we get into the app. Possibly, I can't say for sure. There's a lot of things in the works. Nothing is kind of concrete. There's nothing that we say we're never going to do, whatever, because right now, nothing is off the table. So, and really Capital Flow is being built by the users for the users. So a lot of the current features that we have and a lot of the features that we're working on are things that you guys have asked for. So if there ever is any additional features that you would want to see on Capital Flow, definitely reach out to me and give me some feedback. A lot of the things that we've built, like I've said, are just built strictly off user feedback. A lot of people want this feature. Cool, we throw it in there. So if there's anything y'all ever want, definitely give feedback. Let me know. Your feedback definitely means a lot. It helps a lot. I got a software development team. We worked super hard on this. These guys, like some of these guys barely even sleep, man. We just it's a lot going into this, man. And I'm really excited and I'm really passionate about this because once that app comes, like we're just gonna take this thing to another level. So okay, let me get back to these questions. I want to go in order. So Cody said, yeah, what's up?
Are you ready? I'll have a question. I'm just waiting.
Yeah, no problem. You said you don't have a question?
You want me to go ahead and ask it now?
Yeah, go ahead.
I do have a question. I was just waiting. So how exactly do you trade with Flow? Meaning, like, what are we looking for? And is it possible that it can be alerted to reversals? And does the orders coming in, depending on the size, will that affect the stock price, or we're just assuming it will?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when you're looking at Capital Flow, you're looking at it's going to confirm either one of two things for you. It's either going to confirm that the current trend is going to continue or that there's going to be a reversal, right? So it's either a continuation or reversal. For me personally, the way that I like to use it as a day trader, for those of you, I mean, all of y'all are already in the group, so y'all probably already know my main style is day trading. So what I'm doing is I'm using that weeklies button that I showed. I'm watching same week expirations along with, the overall flow, top by contract, stuff like that. And what I want to see, if I'm looking at that flow come in real time as a day trader, I want to see repeat flow with large amounts of money in the same direction. So what I mean by that is, say I'm watching Apple Flow and I see it means I'm not going to just see one person spent $1 million on Apple puts. Now I want to jump in Apple puts. I don't want to jump in just off that one order, right? I want to see, okay, somebody spent $1 million. Then 2 minutes after that, somebody spent 500,000. Then 30 seconds after that, somebody spent 100,000, then you got 20,000, 50,000, 500,000, all in puts, right? So I want to see that repeat flow coming in that same direction, back to back to back. And that's what I look for as a day trader when I'm using capital flow. That's going to be my main strategy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you for the explanation. My other question, but follows up to that, is like, if you see a large order for the opposite of the period that you're looking at, do you just ignore that, or will that have any effect on what's going on? So in your example, you see all these puts coming in and you see a major call for 6 months down the line. Does that affect today's price?
No, not necessarily. So, if you're looking at those expirations that expire 6 months from now, I'm not worried about those as a day trader. Because I know that I'm going to be in and out this trade within the next few minutes or few hours. So if somebody is holding for a month, 2 months, 3 months, that's okay, right? I'm looking for those short-term expirations. And also, even when you're watching short-term expirations, there might be, a few other orders in there. So say you might see 10 calls and two puts come in. Right? So does that mean you need to not play calls just because those puts are coming in? Not necessarily. The idea is, obviously there's going to be winners and losers on the market. Somebody's going to be on the winning side. Somebody's going to be on the losing side. The idea is that you want to be on the winning side. So if you see that majority of the big money is going into one side, that's the side that you want to be on. Because if you're going against the big money and you see that they're majority calls, but you want to play puts, that means that you are now fighting against the hedge funds and the institutions that have access to millions of dollars. Usually that's not a fight that you want to be on the opposite side of. Of course, these traders, they are going to be wrong sometimes because, again, they're still humans. They're not right all the time, but they do have the highest win rates across the market. We're talking 80, 90% win rates. And that's the reason why they work at hedge funds in the first place, and why anybody even gives them access to tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, is because they've proven in at a high rate. Doesn't mean they win 100% of the time, but if you're following the flow, you're following the big money, you're going to have those same high win rates too. So it's just a way to increase your win rate and increase your likelihood of being on the winning side of the market.
But those large orders, don't they affect it as well?
Yes.
Because if somebody put up tens of millions of dollars there, just by doing that, the fact that they're a big fish or whatever, they can affect the trend. Because if everybody's putting in small call orders and you put in a super massive big put order, don't you like cancel them out and swing the direction of the trade?
Exactly. That's why I talked about you want to use that minimum premium button to make sure you're cutting out those small orders. Like if you're watching something like Apple, you don't care that 50 people spent $3,000 on some Apple calls. If you see that a big whale put $10 million on the puts, then all of a sudden those calls don't matter. So again, it's a combination of large amounts of money and consistency. So I'm not looking for just one order. I'm looking for a bunch of orders coming in the same direction with a large amounts of money coming in. And those are what the points of the filters are for, right? So say if you're day trading, and, like you talked about, what if you're day trading, you see somebody buy 6 months down the line? Well, that's not really going to affect you. And that's why you have that weeklies button. So you won't even see that in the first place because it's not going to affect you. That's why you can set the minimum premium filter, right? So you can cut out all those small orders. You only want to see when somebody spends 500,000 or more. You can do that. So you're not even going to see those small orders won't affect you. So definitely you have to utilize these filters, because if you are looking at it with no filters and you're just seeing everything, that's when it gets really hard to trade. So definitely utilize those filters. Does that make sense? Leon? Okay, I'm not sure if Leon is still with us, but you can chime in later. I'm going to get back to the chats. So we got this on. He said, find a discount. Cody said, you have a question about the capital flow discount. Yeah, go ahead and type your question in the chat. Capital flow shows future. Now we answered that one.
Can you hear me, JT?
Yeah, go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, man. I was just asking. So whenever my trial went up, it automatically just went ahead and hit my billing.
Mhm.
So how would you suggest going about just going in and getting a discount? Should I cancel that plan and then start in again and connect my Discord, or how should I do that?
Didn't apply the discount? Did you click the 15% button?
No, whenever I did it, I signed up for the Capital Flow first before I did the before I did the Discord. So I did.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm about to make a note right now. So I just made a note. So after we hop off this call, I'm gonna go in and manually apply that discount to you. You are Cody7. Cody7 go. Yeah, okay. I see your email. So you got charged earlier today at 12.
I think it may have been today. Yep. Today.
Yeah. So I see. Yeah. So I'm gonna go in and manually apply that discount to your account after we get off this call.
Okay. Awesome, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So Chanel says capital flow the same as watching volume. No, capital flow is not the same as watching volume. When you're watching volume, that's actually going to be for shares traded. So people buying and selling shares. So it's not exactly the same. Options are going to be a little bit different. And, obviously in Impact, we're options traders, and options, that's what's going to move quicker. That's where you're going to make that big money. Now, people are spending 10 million, 7 million, whatever dollars on shares, then they can make a lot of money for sure. But they make a lot of money in terms of dollar amounts, but you're not making a lot of money in terms of percentages. You might make less than 1% or 1% or 2%, just because you know that a stock is not going to move 20, 50, 100, 200% in a given day like options are. So if you really want to be able to make some money and turn small amounts into large amounts, which is what we're doing with options trading, then you need to be able to watch that options flow. Does that make sense, Okay, yeah, no problem. So is the strategy to use the charts and lines you set to follow trends in reduction capital flow in real time? Yeah, that's a great question. So the goal, the idea is to combine the charts with the flow. So like I was saying earlier, when you're watching capital flow, you're looking for confirmation of either one or two things. Either you're looking for a continuation in the move that's already happening, or you're looking for a reversal. And I'm not going to say one works better than the other. Obviously, there's lots of ways to make money, but I'll give examples, right? So say you're looking at a trend. So say something broke out, right? Something broke out maybe during pre-market or during the morning session, and you come in the afternoon, you see there was a big breakout on a stock. You can go and check the flow on that stock. You say, I want to know if this breakout is going to continue or if it's a false breakout, whatever. So you check the flow and see that the flow is still bullish. So say something broke to the upside, right? It's moving up. You check the flow is bullish. So that tells you you can expect a continuation. So you might wait for a retest of that breakout area, right? So now you wait for a retest and you get in calls because the flow is still bullish. Those calls are still coming in, so you can expect a continuation. So on the flip side of that, say you see a breakout to the upside, but the flow is bearish. So now you can expect a reversal, right? So what I would do if I'm looking for a reversal is look for the next closest resistance level if something is moving to the upside, right? So for the flip side to that, if something breaks to the downside, but you see call flow, then you expect an upside reversal. So now you want to play calls when it touches that resistance level. And honestly, in my experience, support and resistance are some of the best indicators or best, chart patterns, whatever, that you can trade flow with. Of course, there's a lot of different technical tools, but I think it's just as simple as using support and resistance, right? If you see a stock is breaking, say it's breaking resistance to the upside and there's call flow, you expect a continuation, you play the breakout, you play calls, right? If it's breaking resistance or if it's approaching resistance and there's put flow, you can expect it to reject right there, and it's going to be the inverse for calls. So that was a really good question. And real quick, I'm not going to get too into detail about this, but because you asked about combining the charts with the flow, the next major update for capital flow, and this is the one that I've been the most excited about, is we're going to have some charting tools within the website. So the way that it's going to work is based on the strike prices that are being bought, the price of the stock when it's being bought, and a couple other factors, expiration, things like that. It's going to give you support and resistance levels just based on the flow, right? So say people are buying calls at this strike at this level, so you can expect the stock to bounce here, move to this level, right? So it's something that's currently being back tested, and it looks super good. I don't know when it's going to be available, but that is the next major update. Because I talk about combining charts with flow a lot, and I know some people might not grasp that concept. That's why I want to make it super simple. So we're just going to go ahead and put the charting tools right there on the platform for y'all. So I'm excited about that one. Yeah, then you compare it to your support and resistance. Exactly. You got the idea. Yeah, I really think y'all are going to love that one, because the best way to use flow is definitely by combining it with the charts. And as crazy as this might sound, there are some traders I know that only use flow. They don't use the charts at all, right? Because the idea is, say it's 9:30, the market just opened, and you see that as soon as the market opens, people are piling into Apple calls, 10 million, 5 million, 100,000, 500,000, back to back to back. As soon as the market opens, Apple calls, Apple calls, Apple calls, right there on capital flow. So that means that they didn't care about what the chart was doing. They didn't wait for any candlesticks to form. They weren't waiting for any moves to drop. They just wanted to get in right now as soon as possible. So the idea is, if you see that people want to get in as soon as possible and there's a sense of urgency, they don't care about what the market is doing. They just say, give me this trade, give me in this trade, get me in this trade. And they're willing to risk tens of millions of dollars just to get in that trade. Then the idea is, I'd be willing to risk my $100, $500, $1,000, right? I don't have the same kind of money as them, but I do have some money that I'm willing to risk just by following them, right? Because if they have a sense of urgency where they want to spend $10 million to get in right now, I'll follow them with 100. So there are times where, flow can chump the charts, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of different strategies you can use. So that's why, I want to make sure I'm answering all y'all's questions, because, of course I do what I do and what works for me, but the same way when it comes to charting and technical analysis, there's so many different ways to do it. So I don't want y'all to think there's only one right way to use flow. There's a lot of things that y'all can do. So I'm trying to continue to give y'all a lot with these filters and updates that are coming out. Apologize if y'all think I'm talking too much. I know this is the Q&A portion, but just trying to give as much value, as much information as possible. Let y'all know what you can do. Let y'all know what y'all will be able to do in the future. But are there any more questions?
I'd like to make a suggestion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe if we could set a custom alert for reversal of flow, or if it doesn't already have that, like if 3 successive orders come in greater than X premium, let me know. Opposite of whatever I was looking at or whatever. I guess you can do that manually.
Yeah, that's something. So when you say set up an alert, do you mean like the same way as those trade alerts are, like in a separate area, a separate page, separate from that real-time flow?
No, it don't matter. However, if that's how it comes across, then I just got to be aware of that.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So I see what you're saying. So,
but I guess it will be in the web interface thing, because what I'm saying is that if I have a bunch of filters set, I'd like to know what's happening outside of my filters, the opposite of my filters kind of thing. It's like if I can set a secondary layer of filters. So if I'm looking at calls over $1 million, I'd like to know if there are 3 puts over $2 million in the same time. Because when I'm filtering, I'm not looking at puts, right? I'm just looking for the calls, or I'm just looking for that volume.
Well, the thing is, there is no way to filter it to only seeing calls or only seeing puts. And that was done very intentionally, because someone who might not be as experienced it's just going to give people too much bias. Like if you can only see calls, then of course you're going to think the market is bullish because you're only watching calls all day. But what you might not know is there could be twice as much money coming into puts, right? So there is no way to only filter calls and puts. Regardless of what filters you use, you're going to see both sides. You're going to see the calls and you're going to see the puts. So you'll always be able to see like if there's orders coming against what you expected. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's great.
Cool. Y'all have some great questions tonight, man. I really appreciate it.
This was dope. I definitely needed this because I ain't gonna lie. I've been watching your YouTube, but I still been was kind of low-key confused on some of the stuff on capital flow. So this was definitely much needed.
Yeah, no problem. I hope this cleared a lot of things up for you.
It definitely did for sure.
Cool. Did anybody else have any questions? Either in the chat, unmute yourself. I do want to make sure everybody's questions get answered tonight. We'll continue to do these in the future, of course, but while we're on here live is definitely the best time to ask questions about capital flow.
I got a suggestion for you. I know
Okay.
you did this a couple times and I missed it, but when you do the live capital flow trading on the live trading in the Discord, can you do one of those soon?
Yeah, we've definitely done a lot of those. I haven't done them within the past few weeks because the market's just been kind of all over the place between earnings season, between all these Fed events, a lot of inflation data. There's a lot of Fed speakers every day. So we're getting a lot of what I talked about earlier. Whenever there's major economic events, there's going to be a lot of hedging. So it can be kind of trickier to do a live trading session because I want it to be my ideal scenario for a live trading session. There's not going to be any major economic events, and there's just been a lot going on in the economic calendar. But after this week, we'll finally be at a Q1 earnings season, so I'm going to get back to those live trading. So y'all can look out for that in the Discord starting next week. So reminder for y'all while we are on here, if you ever do have any questions, comments, any feedback or suggestions, because I'm taking all suggestions too, just reach out to me. Y'all know where to find me, of course, in the Discord, social media, email, whatever. You can. I'm everywhere. But y'all can reach out to me, ask me any questions, give me any feedback, give me any suggestions. It definitely means a lot. We've came a long way. So for those of y'all who may have seen Capital Flow when it was in the beta stages, y'all know that we definitely came a long way, and we still have a long way to go. Like there's updates being pushed out, every single month now. And if you've seen it, then you definitely know how far we've gotten. We haven't even gotten to the app yet, so it's so much more in store. But yeah, just another reminder. So to create an account, you just go to the website. It's capitalflow.app, desktop, tablet, mobile. If you're already in the Discord, you get that discount. It comes with a 7-day free trial. So you get 7 days free. So I encourage you to test it out. Watch how it affects the market. Watch that flow come in, play around with the filters. It's completely free. Just check it out. And then if you want to cancel it anytime, you can cancel. You don't have to pay. If you do want to stay on, everybody in here is already in the Discord. So you get that 15% discount. So the price will be $29.75 per month. And that's less than $30 per month. You're gonna make that back off of one trade. Like the tool is so powerful, man. And so yeah. Do we have any more questions? All right, if there's no more questions, we can go ahead and wrap this up for now. And again, anytime y'all do think of a question, feel free to reach out. Really appreciate y'all for coming on tonight. Definitely hope this helped clear up some things for y'all. If you've been using Capital Flow, or if maybe you didn't know what it was or how it worked, but you were interested, I hope this gave y'all a lot of information, gave y'all a lot of value. So again, just go to the website, capitalflow.app. You can check it out for free and let me know what you think. Even if you just get a free trial and you don't want to subscribe because you have some suggestions about some things that we need to change, hit me with those suggestions. I'm not taking any of this feedback personal. This is a tech company and it's still new. It's still in its early stages. So I know there's there's things that may need to be worked out or things that may need to be tweaked. And this is being built by the people for the people, and y'all are the people. So let me know your thoughts, whether they're good or bad. I'm not going to take it personally. It is what it is, and we'll go from there. Yeah, thank you. All right, so for anyone that may have came in late or just wants to watch this again, I am going to upload the playback. I may or may not put this one on YouTube. I'm not sure, but it's definitely going to go on the Discord. So I'll upload it in the Discord sometime tomorrow. So we'll be on Discord again for live trading tomorrow morning. So hopefully we'll see y'all there, man. Y'all have a good night.
You too. Appreciate you.
All right.